Wow, this is kind of a good song for UCLA joining the Big Ten here with the number 3 hardest schedule in the Big Ten for 2024. Hello, I'm the Dependent Fanatic, and I've already done number 1 and number 2. And you can go watch those videos. Number 1 was another newcomer, USC, and number 2 was Northwestern. Number 3 here is UCLA with the third hardest schedule in the Big Ten going forward. They will have to play at Hawaii in week 1, which isn't that tough. They were 5-8 last season. UCLA leads that game or that series 4-0 all time. But then they have a bye week right away, week 2, September 7th. Why? It's right before Indiana, who was 3-9 last year, which is a first ever matchup between these two programs, by the way. There is a couple of those here, of course, going forward for UCLA. But right after that, then LSU is where you might want your bye week before them, but instead it was before Indiana. But Indiana's a bye week anyway. But at LSU, the second team that plays LSU. I believe there are 2 Big Ten teams that play LSU this upcoming season. So Big Ten versus SEC. And there's quite a few of those matchups, and we will dive in. We'll see them here coming forward. Number 4 team is next, and I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications to see that video. But versus LSU, UCLA beat LSU in 2021 to make it 1-0 in this series. That was their first meeting ever, so here we go. LSU can get their rematch, their revenge here at home versus UCLA. UCLA then has to turn around and play Oregon the very next week, who was a 12-2 team last season. UCLA leads Oregon all-time 39-32. Very close, only 7-game difference. I'm surprised there's no ties in this series. I guess it's too new for that, or the offenses just wouldn't let it happen out there on the West Coast. UCLA then has to go to Happy Valley for the first time ever and play Penn State, who was 10-3 last season. UCLA leads this series all-time 4-2, but never in Happy Valley. That's a theme here. These West Coast teams kind of do have the harder of the schedules. I think all 4 of them are in the top 6. Spoiler alert. To come out here and play, we've already went out there and played, and only a couple of them were good. Well, actually, Washington was the only one that was good last season, and I think they're going to take a downhill dip. So UCLA was 8-5 last season. We're talking about them and their schedule. USC was 8-5. Washington was good, and so was the other team. Oregon was 12-2. So they're not slouches, but they don't get to play the rest. They are entering the Big Ten, and here we go. After they go to Happy Valley, they have Minnesota at home, a 6-7 team. Minnesota leads the all-time series 2-1. They have an opportunity to even it up here. UCLA does at home. But then after that, they go to Rutgers, who is a 7-6 team, and that's a first ever matchup in history between these two programs. And then November 2nd, they are at Nebraska, who is a 5-7 team, but Matt Rule has that thing going in the right direction. They were 4-8 or worse before that. 5-7, they're getting better. Nebraska leads the series versus you all time, 7-6. It's another opportunity for you to even this up. A week after that, you have Iowa at home, the Big Ten runner-up last season. They were 10-4. UCLA leads the series versus Iowa 6-3. And then you go to Washington the very next week, November 16th, who was the national runner-up last season. They were 14-1, only lost to Michigan. UCLA leads the series all time versus Washington as well, 41-33. Again, no ties. Only an 8.8 game differential. USC is next, of course, for UCLA in the penultimate week of the season. USC and UCLA were both 8-5. We'll see who can get it done here. You get them at home, UCLA, but USC leads 50-34 and 7 ties all time. So you're going to have to get it done here at home to salvage a season. Fresno State is your last opponent, which is kind of weird. It's Michigan's first opponent. They were 9-4 last season. UCLA leads the series 6-4 versus Fresno State all time. Now, their opponents, I'm talking about UCLA here, the third hardest schedule in the Big Ten because they had 99 wins last season and 59 losses. Talking about their opponents, which is a 63% clip. And it all depends on is Chip Kelly going to stay and all that. None of that matters on how the schedule is. How UCLA is going to do does not factor into my schedules here. I've already done, like I said, 3 of them. This is my 3rd here, the last one tonight, probably for a good reason. But it's not about your potential or there's no predictions here. Just talking strictly schedules, and this is brutal. At Hawaii to start, at LSU, Oregon right after that, and at Penn State. At LSU, Oregon, at Penn State. Back to back. And then Minnesota. And then at Rutgers, who is no slouch, no up-and-comer, Greg Schiano. You finally get a bye at Nebraska. And then Iowa, and then at Washington. And then USC, welcome home to USC, and then Fresno State to end your season. That's brutal. The Big Ten schedules are brutal, and number 4 is coming up next. Stay tuned. It'll be tomorrow or the next day. It'll be coming up because we have Michigan hockey coming up, and I do pay attention to that as well. So, like the video, share, subscribe, stay tuned. Have a great day, everybody. And for UCLA, I don't know, go Bruins. Is that what you say? Go Bruins. It's going to be tough.